What is going on? Welcome to the live stream today. This is Degen Dad's podcast, and we'll be talking about the meteoric rise of Web3 games and the transition of Web2 games coming into the Web3 space. And of course, we have the man, the myth, the legend joining us today, Chris the Coffee. How's it going, man? How are you?
What's up, man? I am great. Just to let you know, we are broadcasting this to Twitter Spaces as well, and your mic is muted on the Twitter Spaces. So that would probably be pretty important for our listeners on there, and to let me up. But I'm good, man. I'm good. Lots of bullish news on Web3 gaming this week. So I think, our topics are really going to center around that.
Absolutely, man. So I mean, we got a lot of topics to talk about. All right, we got the Vivi Disney 100, Bored Ape Yacht Club key. There's a lot of integrations from some of the biggest gaming platforms and engines like Unity as well, jumping into the Web3 space just a couple days ago. So we have a lot to cover today. Let me unmute here on the old Twitter, and we'll get this going here. So if you're tuning in on Twitter, welcome in. We are streaming on YouTube as well. So we're trying this new, this kind of setup to do both. So welcome in if you're over on Twitter, and I'm piping in the audio of Chris Coffee as well. So Chris, yeah, man, what have you been up to? Let's dive into that real quick, and then we'll shift over to the main topics.
I got another big sell this week. I mean, big relatively. I sold an NFT that I that I got for free for 0.69 ETH for the culture. I think it was like $1,300 at the time. That's like my third sell over half an ETH in 2023. So feeling pretty good about that because I still don't really do high risk plays. So low risk, high reward has really been working out this year. Pretty interesting story behind that, but I don't know if now is the time to share. But I'm feeling good about that. And then I had another good call this week with the Sinners and Saints. Those did pretty well. I only bought one and sold it, but it was a pretty good play. They went from mint, which was like below 0.01, and they jumped all the way up to 0.0. They almost touched 0.06. Some people I know stacked a lot of those. So NFT trading this week has been good, but really the NFT gaming news is what's really been drawing me. I've been watching Mongrel for a while, ever since he won that golden key in Dookie Dash. And, he listed it for 3,333 Ethereum, and probably just like highballing it just to see what offers he got. And finally this week, he accepted the 1,000 Ethereum offer on his golden key, which is around $1.6 million. So that was pretty exciting to see. And I think that's a big win for the NFT space. No matter what project you're in, there's going to be a lot of eyes on that. And a lot of people are going to be wondering how they can monetize Web3 gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. That one's a big one, man. We're talking about Mongrel, ex Fortnite. I mean, he's not ex, he's like still professional. I watched him compete literally live when he was competing in tournaments back in the day, when Fortnite like literally blew up. Like I was there at the beginning and watched Fortnite just go to meteoric like levels. And he was the one that was very interesting to me because he would do these like cool like speed. His whole thing was like thinking so fast. Like he was known for doing all those courses and like running through them at record time. So to see this again, and we talked about this a little bit last week or the week before, but to me, it's not a surprise that he won this key. But this is interesting. We could see more. And me and you, Chris, we've been talking about this. These big streamers coming into the Web3 space, not only to make money, but it's fun. And you have fun games like Dookie Dash. Although I was priced out, I could get disgruntled about that, but in terms of like that participation, I think that was a success in itself. And as more games are accessible, I think that's going to also unlock other streamers and other gamers to come into the space, and want to either earn or own their assets. I think it's just a natural progression here, what we're seeing in the space. Any thoughts on that? Or anything?
Yeah, when you said you're priced out, I remember us talking about it on this podcast, and it was at 1.2, 1.3 Ethereum. And we were both saying that was a good buy, but both of us at the time kind of had our Ethereum allocated other ways. And I haven't checked the floor very recently, but I know it's been over 2 ETH for a while. I don't even know what it's at right now. So it would have been a good trading play as well, but also just a fun experience to participate in for all those that did participate. I do, yeah, it's at 2.38 right now. I just had to double check. I do want to say too, one interesting thing about a mongrel, because you probably, if you're on Twitter, you've probably heard this, and you know it's been filtered around so much. But I don't know if you know this, but Mongrel on that same vault has 13 other passes, and a lot of them are higher. All of them are higher ranked comparatively, and some of them he has like number 2. I think he has like number 7. So he's probably going to see a lot more big sells besides that number 1. It's not going to come into
Mhm.
compare. It's not even going to come close. But more than just making 1.6 million, I mean, he could even make upwards of 2 million. And then I also heard that he has another wallet with about 13 more passes. So Mongrel went heavy on this, not just for this number 1, but for others. And he has a bunch of the top passes. So he's about to make some serious dough.
That's what it's all about
Yeah.
sometimes. Now that would be nice, to cash in on some of that. Um, man, that's incredible to watch. We have somebody tuning in, becoming a Degen dad soon. Heck yeah,
Ayo.
man. Let's go. Welcome to the Degen dad tribe here on the stream. So happy. Congratulations for that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, heck yeah.
499 from SoCal Omi Homie. Happy Thursday, says SoCal Omi Homie. Hey, we appreciate you. Thanks for donating some coffee and energy drinks here on the stream, man. We appreciate that. It keeps the dads going, man. So we can, speaking of Dookie Dash, pay for Dookie Dash diapers and toilet paper and all kinds of stuff. So,
Well, yeah, man.
uh,
Another thing is like, dude, when I was like a teenager or even like in my earlier 20s, like I would have loved to just play this game all day and all night until like I like got the best score. But like right now, life is just so busy between like work and kids and like everything like that, that even if I did compete in the sewer pass, I'm an average gamer, but like I don't think I would have given it enough attempts compared to somebody who was, dude. There's people 12 hours a day, like trying over and over again, and I just wouldn't have been able to keep up with that. So, and I think there's something to be said about that. Is like where, like, what can we expect out of future games for people who are just busy? Like,
mm.
how will like play to earn games or play to mint or whatever? Like, how will they factor into people who just don't have time to allocate all their time to it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that everybody should be asking themselves that right now, because we're about to enter into a big Web3 like phase in the not so distant future, because we're literally watching adoption and things being built, including Unity with all their integrations. We'll get into that in just a minute. But
Yeah, man.
that's a good point you raised, man. And what I say to that is definitely have a strategy in place. I mean, that's a question I've been asking myself too the past year or so. And you got to think of it like real estate, is what I kind of think of it. If you can get into some of these projects or games at a low cost and maybe hold some of these assets, I'm treating it like real estate. I may not be able to manage kind of everything or be able to actually play all these games, but what I can do is invest into some of these, not financial advice, because we're just entertainment only, baby, here on the channel, but invest into these low undervalued assets right now.
Sure.
And if you can get into some of these things with either land, token, or assets, I think those are all great things for dads like you and me, or maybe moms out there watching as well, or family. That could be a good strategy because, again, Chris, you brought a good point up. We don't all have 24 hours in the day. Me and you aren't single. We don't have that single life anymore where we can just grind 17 hours in a day on one game anymore. So we got
Yeah.
obligations and duties.
I will say it was cool, and you'll see this at a different scale too. Like people like playing Dookie Dash like with their kids. Some of them even like kind of forcing their kids to play for them, which I don't know how I feel about that. I'm sure some of them really liked it though. It's like, hey, get a high score and I'll buy you something nice. Like, because I mean, literally, dude, like if your kid was a good enough gamer, you could like share profit with them or whatever. I don't know. That's a very interesting experience though to see like families kind of like participating together.
Yeah, it's really cool, especially if the kid like already loves it and it's just like, here, like, do you want to play this game? And it's like, sure, why not? And then, who knows, you might, your family might actually come into wealth because of that kid was playing that game. So you
Yeah.
never know. I mean, yeah, there's some weird topics out there we could kind of get into. Like, I mean, time and time again, we see, parents doing stuff like that, in general, and not really into games. We haven't seen it in games like that before until obviously Web3. But we have that. Now, quickly before we get into the other topics, I said I was going to talk about Vivi Disney 100. So let's talk a little bit about Vivi updates. Disney's been dropping, they did King, and then they did Encanto, which had the Disney 100 like kind of seal on the logo or on the picture. So I do expect more. I'm surprised we didn't see a Mando drop because the Mandalorian season 2 or 3 or whatever came out
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. I still expect something, a Grogu, a Mando, more Disney 100 stuff. I think maybe even a Platinum Mickey. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of my speculation there. Maybe the
Did
market.
you ever see Ant-Man? Did you ever watch it?
No, I'm gonna wait for that to come out. Yeah.
Oh man, well, like obviously, spoiler, like not really spoiler, but like Kang's a big part of it. So I didn't go for the Kang, but I was excited like to see Kang involved just because like I'm becoming more of a Kang fan throughout this set of the Marvel universe, just because like that he's the big dog, Thanos was the last one, now it's Kang. But yeah, Ant-Man really gives you some good insight around Kang.
Yeah, for sure. So the market's kind of cooling back off. Even like the Lambos are kind of going down in price. Other stuff still selling though. I noticed like the Grails. Every once in a while, I'll see Sergio in the VV automated Twitter account that shows
That VV
previously.
automated Twitter account is clutch, dude. Like that's how I keep up with sales nowadays.
Yeah, and I'll see a lot of the grails still move. Like people are like, "Oh, VV." Yeah, I've seen it. I know VV isn't as liquid as it was, but again, that's not a surprise. It's not a shock. We're in the crypto winter, so you kind of get what you get here. But one thing I do see is a lot of those kind of blue chips and grails on VV. They're still moving around. People still are picking them up, and I think they're transitioning into like long term holders. And that's something like 2 years ago. What I was kind of saying is we'll see this long term play out. And I think that's kind of what's going on here in the crypto winter land of even the VV market. So
Yeah, we had 14 hours ago a secret rare Spider-Man sold for 6,400, which obviously is like substantially down, but at least there's still some kind of volume there. Do you think
right.
VV will ever? It is. We're referring to the at VV feed. It's a VV Twitter bot that like tracks sales data. Like 17 minutes ago, a Iron Man sold for $129. But do you think VV will ever step into gaming like with their assets?
Yeah.
Also, this is a layered question because I'm going to ask you something else that's it's related but not quite the same. Remember when we were at Decon and they had like that anime style game? Wasn't that like backed by Omi? Like, do you know any updates on that?
Yeah. So yeah, I've been watching that closely, and it looks fun. It's like a side scroller. I kind of like that kind of a ninja-esque type of games like that. We'll see how I'm curious how like the tokenomics are going to work with it, or if you're going to be able to use Omi somehow to, maybe it's like a quarter machine, or maybe there's skins. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out into the token, but I think that Omi, I'm not really sure if they're going to get into gaming right away until there's like regulation and clarity around it, maybe. But I
Mhm.
could actually see them getting into it. I think it's kind of inevitable, in my opinion, as long as these like games aren't like, making, because with games you actually have the benefit of skilled gameplay. If like you can do skilled gameplay and win crypto, and that's not considered like security because it took skill to actually win that. So there's some actual loopholes around like security laws. So maybe
Sure.
they do something with that there. I do think that we'll be able to have our assets do something and certain experiences, maybe gaming. I don't know. It's too early to say, but what's not early is that they have gotten into Web3 games, like with that game you're talking about, Chris, and another game, Epico Regal.
Yeah,
So
yeah, Epico Regal.
those are 2 games. I think they'll continue to add games and stuff like that to the ecosystem for sure, though.
Dude, I don't know if this is too harsh of a transition, but like MetaMask has been making some like major steps in gaming this week. I am not a technical person as far as like I'm not a developer, so some of the wording goes a little bit over my head. But I'll pull this up on the YouTube show, so like to show everybody. But I'm also going to read this real quick. But basically, just to give you a very quick recap of what all MetaMask announced, is they're allowing devs to connect their wallets, their games to wallets. Sorry, you'll be able to trade in-game assets, which we can talk about in a second, Kyle. I'm wondering if you're just going to be able to literally skip the marketplace and like have those in-game items like in your wallet and then trade in your wallet. Like that'd be crazy. And again, that's something we can talk about in a bit. They're offering this is actually really cool. They're offering 100K grant to bridge Web 2 game devs to Web 3. So imagine you're building a game and you're just like a regular developer, and like maybe you're already established, maybe you're not, and maybe you don't care about NFTs, but somebody offers you thousands of dollars just saying, look, just try this out. Like, hey, like if you can build on this, we'll give you money to do it. To me, that's a huge onboarding. That's literally a financial incentive for game developers to like bridge to Web 3. So maybe with that $100,000, I don't know how far that can go. Obviously, it's going to be like just more indie games because I know like making games costs a lot of money. But either way, I think it's cool that they're like paying devs to bridge to Web 3. And then they also announced after all that they're teaming up with Hyperplay.xyz. And this is the part that kind of goes over my head. Hyperplay.xyz basically is an aggregator for Epic Games and GOG games and some other games. Basically, it's going to overlay MetaMask to every game and allow developers to release for free through these stores without the fear of deplatforming or extractive fees. Would
Mhm.
you be able to translate that a little bit for? Because to me, it sounds like they'll be able to launch on Epic Games without like consequence, but I don't see how that's even like legal or possible. And that's the part that I don't really understand. Do you kind of grasp that better than I do?
Yeah, I think it's just a way of like, so just to pull up this comment because there's a misconception here. Um when you have a connection, and I know VV NFTs aren't like portable to MetaMask yet, but when they do, because I think they will be interoperable one day. That's just my opinion. So when we're able to like say port our NFTs to MetaMask, or maybe you actually have the in-game asset itself in your MetaMask, like Shrapnel is one of those games, Illuvium, and many others that you can. Well, I know Shrapnel, Midnight Society. There's a
Ayo.
bunch of Phantom Galaxies. I have some NFTs in my MetaMask from that game. But once we're able to connect it to Epic Games, it's just going to unlock the asset in the game. Or that's kind of already what Phantom Galaxies does. It basically, you connect your wallet to Phantom Galaxies, you launch the game, and it identifies that you have that NFT in your wallet, and therefore you're able to play like episode one or a beta, or you get the in-game character. And so with blockchain comics, VV NFTs aren't, they don't have to be made for the game. Games could identify that you own, let's say, like the Todd Batman, and then you go to connect your wallet to a game, and then they identify that you hold that NFT, and then they could say, okay, you get a cool skin in the game. So that's kind of how it would work. Because I agree with you, these collectibles aren't made for games, but what they are just actually a just token, right? It's just a token or non-fungible token that you can identify or use for whatever you want. And that's kind of where I see like the interoperability with games, and things like that in the future. But that's exactly what's happening here with Epic Games and that HyperX and MetaMask
Hmm.
connection here. And we're gonna get it more into that. Like I'm gonna pull up, Chris, you have a screen here you need to share too, but I'll pull some stuff up in here in just a minute just to showcase.
Whoa, that's tiny. How do I zoom in? Um,
Control and then use your scroll wheel and scroll up on it.
wow, what the
There you
heck?
go.
You just taught me something new, but it didn't. It still didn't zoom in. It zoomed in on my screen, but it didn't zoom in on the.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Oh, there
Here,
it goes. There it goes. There it goes. That's
oh,
good enough.
we can do that and just commentate over it.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just going to show what I was talking about. This is their MetaMask announcement for Hyperplay XYZ and some of the write up over it. But there's one specific thing that I wanted to show that they posted. This was their announcement for the SDK and the Unity Asset Store, which allows Web3 enabled features within the game itself. But this is a really cool little demonstration that they have. So you can easily buy, own, and trade in-game assets, collectibles, and currencies. And as you can tell, there's like a little inventory over here with items like sunshades, a little rocket emoji, and a key, and then boosters, and then you can learn. But dude, and then you even got like a level, you got quests, characters, and items. But if all this happens inside of MetaMask, like that's crazy.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were kind of talking and hitting on the head there is that let me see if I can make us normal again. There we go. Um is connecting your wallet and it just identifies like what you already have in your wallet and that unlocks stuff in the game. And that's what I see happening and playing out. We're seeing it literally right here. And as a matter of fact, let me share my screen real quick as well. Here. But there is other integrations as well. Let me see if I can actually.
I'll also go ahead and pull this up for the Twitter space for whoever's joining that, just so they can see it as well.
All right. So Unity not only did MetaMask, but they did some other big Web3 projects as well. So we can see here. Let me see if I can zoom in on it for everybody. But they integrated IMX, Solana, Aptos, Altura, Tezos, Infura. I already said immutable, Acon, I don't know, or ID, Algorand, Dapper Labs. So you got Flowchain coming in there, Infura, Nefta, Truffle, and of course we already said MetaMask too. So there's actually a big list of these Web3 integrations that we're seeing here in Unity itself, and these are SDKs as well. So again, going back to what I was saying earlier, is you'll be able to connect your Solana wallet, your Aptos, your Altura, your Tezos wallets, like all these different wallets in different ecosystems, and be able to connect them to games. And that's kind of the point here is, enjoying your assets in the game. And Altura is interesting because Altura is a little bit deeper than some of these projects. So, like Altura lets Web3 game developers integrate their game into Web3, and it's like super low cost. It's kind of like a quasi. It's like MetaMask and IMX having a baby, and that's kind of like what Altura is in a nutshell. But a lot of these are very interesting right here. IMX, we know that they have the passport coming soon for gamers that will be able to do exactly sign in to their games like with a click of a button or sign into IMX. So that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be interesting to watch that. But what's really the same with all of these integrations into Unity is they're all making it easy for Web3 or game developers to integrate NFTs into the game. That's literally like what this whole point of like all these integrations are. So, anyways, any thoughts on that? Like all these, crazy integrations. They're on the verified list too, so that's also something important to note.
I think it's exciting because it's not just exclusive to one chain. It's allowing any wallet from any chain. I just made a kind of a joking tweet yesterday that like I'm not an ETH maxi. I'm just too lazy to trade on other chains. So like this, like allowing things like this, you won't have to have it all stored just on ETH. You can kind of use it will allow people from all of these backgrounds, like Aptos or Solana or whatever. So I like that.
Yeah, and
Immutable.
you can see this is their verified partners list here or solutions list. So right off the gates, you can see Algorand, you can see Altura, Aptos. I mean, these are next to some of these like real big other integrations as well. So Dapper Labs right there. I mean, this was very good stuff. Immutable X, you can keep going,
Mm-hmm.
Infura, all this Web3 all over it, man. This is huge. MetaMask right there. Again, this is their verified list. This isn't just like some Joe Schmo. This is Unity's action. I mean, this is big. And when we're looking at Unity, a lot of mobile games are built using Unity.
Yeah.
Um, and mobile games make up 70% of like all gaming revenue, beating out console, PC, all of that. So this is massive. I mean, this should not be understated at all about like what Unity is doing here. So
Yeah, I've always argued that we're gonna see Web3 gaming mass adoption through microtransactions, not necessarily through like the Fortnite and the Call of Duty. It's not that that's not possible. I just see that happening at a much later date if that happens, but it can incorporate with like mobile style games fairly quickly, just as long as we pass securities and kind of actually develop the games. So I definitely see it being on games like my favorite mobile game is Clash of Clans, and like I could totally see how something like that could be Web3 oriented. I don't think Supercell is going to pick up and make it Web3, but I think that other builders are going to make games like that, and that's going to be Web3 focused.
hey, I appreciate that, Kago, for the '90s buzz cut. Hey, I do have my. I should have put on my Buzz Lightyear shades, and then I would have the buzz cut with the Buzz Lightyear shades, and that would maybe I have something going there. Maybe that's my online persona is Buzz. So my collectibles, yo, what's going on? We got a fellow streamer in the house. My collectibles, one of the man, this he's grown into pretty much a juggernaut in the community, and not only that, one of like the blue chip creators and things like that. And what I see as a blue chip creator in the collectible space. So shout out to my collectibles, man. We're going there. We're going to Web3 is going to be adopted into games, and it's going to create this big snowball effect. And what my opinion about this too is it will tie in directly to collectibles because it just goes hand in hand together. Um, and like again, we could use our collectibles that are based in on NFTs to have cool assets in game as well later down the line. And Blockchain Comic says, imagine the licensors complications. So this is true. There'll be complications, but there already was complications with licensors with NFTs. But here we are. So I think over time that will work itself out, in my opinion. Battlestar Galactica, they're on Gala Games. That's a IP and that's a brand. That's been around for decades, and they're on Gala Games. And we have The Walking Dead on Gala Games, and then you have major celebrities working with Gala Games as well. So again, long run, that those stuff will be that I think that'll just work itself out. Chris, what's your thoughts on that? Complications, with
Yeah,
others?
yeah, I think there'll be complications, and I do agree with one of the things Blockchain Comics said earlier. Let me see if I can find it. He said these collectibles are not made for games. Um, I am kind of on the like hot take of I think if Vivi does incorporate collectibles with games, I think that it's going to be designed like that from the start. So I'm not necessarily saying they couldn't use current collectibles. I just personally don't think they will. Like I think they're gonna like be straightforward. Like this drop's coming out. This drop will be integrated with a game that this company is making, and it's all gonna be right there. I don't have a lot of facts to back that up. It would be more so me thinking along the lines of like Alex mentioning that they're not going to go back and give the golden moments utility. And I know that there's also been talk of, especially around the golden moments, just like of their you're distracting the heck out of me.
No, keep talking. I'm
Yeah, I
activating right now.
know.
Oh, got a
What?
Hal Jordan
Yeah.
because today
You
was
just open it. I lost my train of thought.
the FA, or is Hal Jordan's FA, right? On DC platform. We got to get into that. Speaking of DC, Chris, but keep talking, keep
No,
talking.
go for it. Go for it.
No, I'm opening these cards. You can go.
Basically, in conclusion, I don't think current collectibles are going to be gamified. I think it's going to be like labeled like that from the start. I would be able to make a bull case around that, but now's probably not the time.
So yeah, what I see is you have platforms like Altura that integrate with other platforms that are NFT marketplaces. So if you stake like their token, you get like an NFT, for an example. So I do see like these platforms, what they'll do is they'll just collab with each other because cross collaboration is marketing. And I do see that playing out long term. So I do think we'll see like they could, like for instance, Gala Games. Paul Barron asked the founder of Gala Games like if he would consider integrating Vivi with their games, and he said he doesn't see why not. So again, it's possible. I think it's possible, but to Blockchain Comics's point, Bitbender, the founder of Gala, did say that Battlestar Galactica was really hard to work with because the licensing. So
Yeah.
great point there, but those can be worked out with teams like Vivi that have like got all the licenses to do NFTs themselves. That was a feat in itself to get that.
I
SDK is
also
a
just
standard is I believe it stands for standard developer kit. So it's
yeah,
SDK is a
standard software development kit.
yeah. So it's just yeah. So that's what that
So
means.
basically giving tools to developers essentially. Um, at the end of the day, like I don't even know how many people
Yeah,
play
software.
like IP based games. Like I know the Miles Morales, the new game was pretty big. A lot of people played that. I don't know. Like I guess Harry Potter would be pretty big. And that's been a big played game. But like everybody's talking about using like Marvel and DC for games. I personally don't really know of any big IP games right now. There's games like what was that like Smash Bros style game that incorporated DC?
It was just like Warner Brothers Smash or something. I'm not really sure.
That was a pretty cool game,
Oh,
and
DC Multiverse. Yeah,
DC
DC
Multiverse. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a pretty cool game that incorporated IP. But like I don't know, there's a lot more like Call of Duty and Fortnite players than there are like people that use like Spider Man and Batman in games. Unless we're just talking about like skins and stuff.
Yeah, well, if you look at Fortnite too, they've integrated IP into their game.
They
So,
have, yeah.
again, I could see a Web3 integration like beyond Fortnite. I don't know like how long Fortnite stays around or stays relevant. It's been around for a long time, obviously. But they're typically back then there used to be like life cycles. Now Fortnite could become like a Call of Duty where they just keep iterating and doing things. Or we could see the next Fortnite, which is comes from a different developer.
Mhm.
Um, just this just happens in games all the time. Is you'll have just this big game pop off, everybody loves it, and I think that will happen with the Web3 game. And I do think that we will see in-game assets, just based off what we've seen with Fortnite. Because at one point, like people didn't really consider Fortnite like a kind of a metaverse, but they changed the game when it came to that in terms of a Web2 metaverse and having concerts and Travis
Yeah.
Scott in there and things like that. Um, so I think one day we'll see that. I think it'll just take time.
Yeah,
Uh,
Fortnite, it struck while the iron was hot, like, as far
mhm.
as, battle royale style. Like, it wasn't the first battle royale, but it was one of the first to really pop off. I think it was that and, what was another one that people were playing a lot at the time? This was way before Call of Duty jumped on the train. But that's what Fortnite, they struck while the iron's hot, so we'll just have to wait for, like, this new, like, innovation of gaming, and then hopefully a Web3 game can be there and ready when that happens.
Right. And again, like just going back to the Unity solutions here is man, that's big right there. That's showing literally the trajectory of where Web3 game or games in general are going. If Unity, the engine that a lot of games are built on, and we're talking not just games, we're talking metaverse. So AR, we're talking about all these different AR applications, all these different gaming applications, these metaverse applications, entertainment applications that are all built using Unity. Unity is one of the most universal pieces engines out there that work with like all the AR and VR headsets out there. So again, this is showcasing the trajectory of you just connecting your wallet and seeing your asset in VR, AR, in game, in metaverse right here. Again, this is the writing literally on the wall of what's happening and the transition we're seeing. And the fact that big streamers like Mongrel are playing, a Web3 game winning
Yeah.
significant money shows you exactly the trajectory of the future. I mean, this is again, in my opinion, the writing on the wall.
I know you keep up with Sandbox, and Sandbox, recently they acquired a gaming studio, S Viper Games. I don't know the extent of it, but essentially they said that this would be able to enhance the multiplayer experience, actually create a new multiplayer experience, and help with like game builds. Have you heard anything about that?
No, but I have been collecting in the sandbox, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I've been collecting sandbox avatars that are undervalued. Again, I'm very bullish on the sandbox long term. I know people are saying there's a misconception with Sandbox, by the way. So we'll get this off my chest here. Is people thought the users were actually super low. I think that it's actually averaging like 39, 40,000 ish average daily average users, which is not bad at all.
No, not at
And,
all.
but what's going to happen?
Decentraland was like ridiculously low.
Yeah, and well, with Sandbox, what's gonna happen is you have more brands coming, you have all these games being built out, they're all, like, launching, and, you have more celebrities coming into it. What's gonna happen, Chris, is it's just gonna snowball, and it's gonna come to a head, and
Mhm.
there's just gonna be this big hype bomb surrounding it, just like what we see with any other type of adoption, and they're having, like, a concert, DJ Tiesto's, like, the head of this thing. I mean, it's just gonna happen, I think. That's just my opinion. So I've been looking at Sandbox, avatars. Again, Chris, you
Sweet.
were saying earlier that, how are we gonna spend all of our time in the sandbox? I'm just gonna invest into it, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'll
that
find
makes
the
sense.
lives.
Isn't Quid doing a drop soon that is integrating with the Sandbox avatars? You wanna talk about that?
Yeah, yeah. So Quid, the other collectible platform that we know of, they're dropping. It's called Interstellar Realty, and they have developed a integration with Sandbox. And so, if you had a certain mintable NFT, then you'll be able to basically take your NFT and port it into Sandbox, just like what we were saying earlier. That non fungible token can be verified in a wallet, and guess what happens with the Sandbox? It spits out an avatar. But on
Yeah,
Quid itself, it might look like a sticker, it might look like a 2D, it might just look like a plain old NFT. But guess what? Sandbox is able to identify that NFT, and since they have a partnership with Quid, you can play with your avatar in the Sandbox. Really cool stuff. That's coming soon, right around the corner.
yeah. I think there's another drop with it, like March 10th. I don't remember the exact day of the drop, but I was pretty excited about that. One of my reasons that I like even started using Quid was because I saw their integration with Animoca, and then obviously Animoca's like everything surrounding them. And then I like found out about the Mintables. So I'm very excited for that drop to come.
Yeah, speaking of which, I'm gonna be doing giveaways moving forward on Quid. And we'll be giving away like some boxes and things like that around this whole sandbox thing. So
Ayo.
be on the lookout for that. And also yeah, just be on the lookout for that on my Twitter and in these streams that we're doing
Yeah,
week.
we should give away, because I'll also be able to, something to our if we're gonna consistently do Twitter Spaces surrounding these lives, we should do something for our Twitter Space attendance.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for the Twitter folks tuning in, be sure to like and share these because we'll definitely be giving away, like, we'll be definitely giving away like raffles and things like that for people listening in on Twitter.
Heck yeah, man, that'd be awesome. Yeah, man, I think that's most of what was covered as far as Web3 gaming this week goes. I mean, it all kicked
Wait,
off
wait,
with the Mongo, so.
we got one more. I got to show
Oh, okay.
this too. So this is what we're looking at here is the GDC 2023 Diamond Partners, and guess who is on the list here? Can you see that?
Amazon,
AWS,
Epic,
Epic.
Google, Facebook,
Whoa, whoa,
Microsoft.
you missed one. You missed one. The one before Google.
I can't read it.
It's Gala Games.
Ah, Gala.
And then
Yeah,
underneath Epic Games, what's that one?
bro, it's so small. Here, let me put it on my other monitor. It's small
This one.
because I have this to the side, so it's already tiny. Oh, I see it better now. We have Pico, Polygon,
Polygon.
something with really small letters,
So many.
Unity, We Made, something else with really small letters.
So the big ones there.
Yahaha.
Yeah, and so the big ones there, Chris, is Gala Games, Polygon. They make no mistake. They don't apologize for being Web3. The biggest Web3 projects in the space around gaming almost
Yeah.
is Gala and Polygon. Right there on GDC. This is the Game Developers Conference of 2023. So
Heck
this is a
yeah, dude.
big
That's
deal,
awesome.
man.
That is a
It,
big deal.
and another one, some speculation around AWS. Remember, we talked about it last week and the week before. Amazon getting into NFTs. I
Yep.
mean, this could be something here.
Specifically gaming NFTs. They
And
like they
guess
were
what?
yeah, they're
This is
very specific
GDC.
about that. Yeah.
This is Gaming Developers Conference. So we could see something around this event. So some alpha right there. Be on the lookout for that. Could be nothing, but man, this is we've heard spring, and guess what? It's basically spring.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see something here. I'm very curious. I'm watching this very, very
Like,
closely.
this would be the announcement for the Web3 gaming.
Ooh, SoCal Omi Homie. I'll donate to giveaways. I got some stuff to donate. He says,
Heck yeah.
"Hey, I'm
That'd be
down."
great.
What were you asking, Chris?
If you think that this conference would be the announcement for Amazon's Web3 gaming protocol.
It could be. It very well could be.
When is this?
So this is it says March 20th through the 24th. So this is literally, I mean, this is
This
spring, man.
month.
This is
Yeah.
this month, spring. I mean, what are the odds? You have two major blockchains here and AWS. No, we know
Yeah.
AWS. This just makes sense. You see Google, Meta, Microsoft, the big tech companies. So it literally could be nothing. All right. But, who knows? Cavernous, yeah, integrates with the Viviverse. That's a good point because Cavernous works with Unity and Unreal Engine. We know Unreal Engine, they're going to be integrating Web3. They already have it on the Epic Game Store, all these Web3 games. They've actually been tweeting from their main account about Star Atlas, a major Web3 game.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Man, again, the writing's on the wall, guys. Yeah, I mean, Web3,
we didn't even
Web3 is not hiding anymore. It's out there. It's out there.
we didn't even mention this, but I think Pixelmon dropped like a very long white paper for their game, and it pumped up prices again. But dude, they've raised so much money, and they have like so little to show for. I just don't know
Yeah.
how I feel about it overall, but it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, and yeah, that's another game. Again, all these games are going to start coming online. GameStop's promoting games like Illuvium, for example. I mean, yeah, it's just
GameStop is?
crazy. Yeah,
I didn't know
GameStop.
that.
Yeah, GameStop has their NFT Twitter, and then they have their regular Twitter. But on their NFT Twitter, they promote obviously a lot of the Web3 games for obvious reasons. But
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, absolutely. Because GameStop's integrated directly with Mutable X and Loop Ring.
Yeah.
Comment, watch for the upload. Thanks for all the extras. You two are awesome and very generous. Thanks, Kyle and Chris. Hey, Daniel Marquez, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, man.
Super active, man. He's always around.
Super supportive. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Appreciate you, Daniel, for being here, man.
But that's all I got on the gaming news.
Sure.
Chris, what's up with that DC news? I heard you got some DC news for us today. DC
Bro.
Marketplace.
I was reading your FUD on Twitter. You know,
What?
you're like, man, DC's closing their cash out. I'm leaving, something like that. I don't remember what you said.
Nah,
But
that's what the Gale said. That's what the Gale said.
no, apparently DC Marketplace is changing payment providers, and I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. I think honestly, this is more of like an opportunity than it is like a problem, because they're like lowering cash out to like what, $5, something like that. Like, it's ridiculously low right now.
Yeah. So
And they're giving you a couple weeks to, like, if you do want to cash out, do it now, and then they're gonna like be in the middle of changing.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, this is interesting. They're accommodating users, like you just said, lowering fees, and then ramping up the process of processing these transactions so people can cash out sooner.
Yep.
But let me see if I can pull this up on screen real quick here.
Is it the announcement?
Yeah, so like they sent out some emails here that said that we are writing to inform you of upcoming change to the cash out services available to your DC NFT account. Please note that your funds are secure and will not be impacted by this change. We are disappointed to report that Circle, our payment services partner, is phasing out their wire transfer services. This change affects all of their existing partners industry wide, including the DC marketplace. So this wasn't necessarily limited at DC marketplace. I think Recur was actually using this as well. But Recur has multiple options, and I think somebody kind of mentioned that as well. But I think Kay tweeted about it. But
Recur is also, just a side note, they just added cash out in USDC. I forgot what it was, some stable coin. I think it was USDC.
Yeah, well,
cool.
I mean, Circle is USDC, so I don't know. We'll see.
Got you.
I think they have a fiat pay a cash out as well. So I think they're fine. I don't think they'll have to like they'll probably find another like service provider, but we'll see.
Mm.
And here's kind of like the second part of the email. We won't get into that though. It's just showing that they'll accommodate users and process transactions as soon as possible, while they look for other partners and things like that. Um, but again, a lot of people flooded Vivi for something like that. But this stuff just happens. We're so early. You never know. The space is just, I mean, it's just all, there's constantly things changing in the space.
Yeah. I didn't really care for either. I mean, like, it's to me, it's just pretty obvious that it's a change in payment provider.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of how I viewed it last time. I know people like putting on all these like Twitter spaces. Like, I'm like, it's literally just Wire, and they
Yeah.
almost went out of business. They got funding, now they're back. It is crypto winter, but Circle, maybe it's more like a regulation thing, and they're like, hey, we should probably stop doing this. Who knows? I don't know. We'll figure it. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it on that. Last week we saw Ubisoft launch their avatars on Sandbox, or it was like a collaboration with Rabbids. You liked that one, Chris, the
I did
Rabbids.
like that one, yeah, because I remember the rabbits and like that's just gonna be cool to have them as like NFTs or incorporated with NFTs.
In Toei or Tao, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they're responsible for Dragon Ball, all that. They
Yeah.
partnered up with the Sandbox. Again, things are coming to a head with Sandbox, man. I'm telling you, I feel it in my bones. Um,
Do you think Sand Token is a good play? Do you own any Sand Token?
I don't own any sand token. It's I think a long term, like very long term, it's kind of like Omi. It's just going to take a long time to do something significant, but once it does, it'll be a good play. I think the play on sand was like last year when it was like super duper low, and then that had like this huge metaverse run.
Mhm.
I haven't looked at it in a while, to be
Number
honest. So
44 on CoinGecko, it's at 67 cents, which is all red. Like
yeah,
1 hour is red, 24 hours is red, 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, and 1 year.
and I was looking at it at like 30 cents, I think it was, where I was looking to kind of get into it. I always like to, again, I'm very different. I can wait like very long for to get into a token, like when it gets like super low, and that's when I kind of like to get into things. But yeah, I
That's
think it
how it
might be
was for Immutable X. Like after hearing about the unlocks, I was just like not touching Immutable X at first. Not because I didn't believe in the platform, but because like just the tokenomics weren't there for the price sustainability. I mean, it's almost at $1, but I mean, it's actually up there. It's up 50% in the last month. But last year, I mean, it came out the gate at like $5. I think it pushed all the way to like almost 10.
Yep. And also, yeah, Sandbox went to 38 cents. I was actually looking at it there, which ironically that was the lowest it's been since, for like forever. Um, the peak of the bull run, it looks like it was at 351. So man, yeah, that could be a good play. I mean, Sandbox is down big.
Yeah, I never studied the tokenomics of Sandbox or Sand Token.
Mhm.
Don't you earn Sand Token by like owning the Sandbox land?
I think you could have. I think there's like some stuff that you could do. I don't know around the land, to be honest, though. But I
Mm.
know like in games, some of these avatars that um allow you to earn sand token in game. So like
Oh, that's right. You do like quests for like Sand Token, I think.
yeah, like with the rabbits, that's
Yeah,
exactly what they're doing. Is
that's
they'll
cool.
let gamers earn sand by playing the game and like all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and what was the other token you mentioned? Oh yeah, IMX. They're having token unlocks this month,
Mm.
so
It's gonna
that's
be brutal.
interesting. Exactly, exactly. So be careful on that token. It's a good token. It's not bad. It's just that these token unlocks, you start talking about it, man, and people get a little nervous around token unlocks and
Sure.
just human nature,
I
and people
remember
get mad
Omi
about it.
when they did the unlocks. It was like over 2 years every I don't remember the month period. This is when I was like really analyzing the token. And sometimes it would actually dump. Granted, this is more of the bull market, so there's a lot more volume, but sometimes it would dump more before the unlocks than it would be after the unlocks because people would be anticipating the unlocks.
Mhm.
So like essentially the token would be down 20% and instead of the unlock happening and it going to 40%, it would actually like go back up. So during that time, it was actually good to buy like right before. But that was again bull market, much more volume, much more speculation. Right now, I don't necessarily see unlocks being a good thing, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's yeah. People, I try to argue sometimes, like, oh, they announced this news, they did this, that, the other, but token unlocks, man, it's hard for people to get around that. And people just do what people do, is just take profits, get out
Yeah.
of it before then. And like you said, like people speculate even before the token unlock, like 2 or 3 months down the line, and start pulling a little bit out of the project. But
Oh, this is kind of funny. Hey, look, let me share my screen on this real quick. This is interesting for the viewers. Let's do screen one.
is it your
So
seat?
I'm looking at Immutable X right now, IMX. And if you go, I don't ever check this, but if you go to the bottom right, the people also watched. You have Decentraland, Axie Affinity, WeMix, Gala, and in Ecomi for the the recommended. I think that's kind of cool. It's like
Yeah,
kind of
that's
paired in with the metaverse tokens.
absolutely. And again, I think that will just be more relevant too as they roll out the VV verse and all that good stuff.
I was gonna ask you this, and I guess now would be a good time. So there was just an airdrop of this like Prime token. Let me pull it up in a separate tab, and basically they got the airdrop, and then Prime got listed on Coinbase. This is not it. And after it got listed on Coinbase, it pumped like a lot. There's so many Prime tokens. What the heck? I'm gonna go with this Prime token. I don't know which one it is. All right, I'm gonna try one more time. If this doesn't work, then we'll just go off of. Okay, it's probably this one. It's at $4.24. This is Prime token. This is an airdrop. But when it got listed on Coinbase, I got all the way up to like almost $8. It's not showing right now because it's so new. What do you think like a Coinbase type listing would do to Omi?
Um, I don't know. I mean, it would definitely hype it up in the community, and I think the community itself would buy like the token or get excited about it. Um, I just don't know if it would do a whole lot in this condition of a market. I mean, I think the price would move for sure, but I don't think it would be like it would be in a bull market. If they did something like that in a bull market, I could see like some really significant like moves in the OMI token. But again, crypto winter, man, is this one's a big one. So yeah, especially I think in the coming months, I think the all these like crypto runs are going to kind of like peter out, and there's the inflation numbers are going to be sticky, and that's going to affect the market in the next few months. So I don't know, I'm not too like super bullish on things in general. What I'm doing is just like DCA, calm, level-headed approach, you know just like the days of old, man. Oh, I can't hear you.
Do you think that it's going to get better next year?
Yeah, I think so. I think I mean, that's objective though, because next year, like, we could maybe like the economy slows down a lot. So I'll be watching that specifically. These are the things that you just don't have a crystal ball unless you
Yeah,
are literally at you know the top of the food chain here. You're one of the regulators in the know about some of these things. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I think I'm more bullish on next year than this year.
sure.
That's for sure. So, 2024, 2025, I think that's when we'll start to see things, you know, on the positive side a little bit more.
I've mentioned this on our podcast before. I've had some pretty smart people, obviously not financial advice. This isn't not even my like speculation. Just things I've heard about the if it does turn around next year, some people might be trying to front run that at the end of the year. So we could actually see like positive price action towards the end of this year, like in the crypto market. Now, granted, there's like 100 things that could go wrong right now with like black swan events. So if any of that happens, it would like throw a wrench in the plan. But I could see if next year is going to be a better year for the market. even the last few months of this year, people speculating on that.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, in December, it's like cyclical, so that's usually when the price likes to move around is December. Yeah, it's been that way probably since like the inception of crypto. I always definitely get more excited in the end of the year than the beginning. Um, in terms of like January can kind of get looped in, like that's usually when everything peaks out. But
Yeah.
then after January's over, it's just like bam, like crash. And then sometimes you see like a little summer pump, and then it goes back down until like the end of the year. So again, cyclical, kind of self-fulfilling prophecy in crypto, it seems like. But I've studied a lot of the cyclical charts, and they're very interesting. And I kind of you kind of want to like let the trend be your friend sometimes, in
Yeah.
trading and investing. So, yeah, not financial advice at all, though. That's just entertainment, and yeah, don't
Let the
take.
trend and let like with the trends, like that typical chart that shows like euphoria and then it shows like anger, like that, like the emotional trend is very real thing as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you can like rule out your emotions and be like cool headed, calm headed, and not be swayed at what people say or the news or even, leaders or mainstream media, and you just do you, and you have your strategy in place, that works for you. I found that's the best that works for me,
Yeah,
is having
same.
my own strategy that I stick to, and I haven't changed it. Like I haven't changed it at all, and I've been perfectly fine. And I will likely I'll fine tune things, but I'm not gonna be swayed by other people.
You have any alpha for us this week, whether that be on upcoming projects or like maybe even just like we talked a lot about gaming today, like a Web3 game that people could start playing today that you find fun?
You know, um, I've been kind of dabbling a little bit in the sandbox. I find it kind of fun. Cute little characters, the avatars. You can find some at a really low price. You want to do your research there. Not all the avatars are created equal. Some are actually really expensive. I mean, if you go in there and you look, some of these avatars are like 1, 2, 3 ETH, like the Cyberkongs.
Oh yeah.
Those are expensive, but you can like look around and see some undervalued ones. But you know, Illuvium has the upcoming their Illuvium Beyond that could be interesting. Um, it's kind of like their Genesis collectibles in a sense, where it's just profile pictures, but maybe there were something one day when Illuvium has like, 20 games and it's like a full on studio at that
Yeah.
point. That could be fun, but I'm still gonna be more on collecting the actual Illuvatars them or alluvials themselves in game. I don't have a lot of alpha. That's things kind of are moving slowly. Just be on the lookout for Unity, man, and all those integrations. I bet we'll
Sure.
see some more announcements around Web3 games in the not so distant future.
Cool,
What
man.
about you? Any alpha?
Not as much this week. It's been really hard to keep up. I was sick at the end of last week, beginning of this week, so I'm trying to like rekindle and catch up. But like not a lot is going on in the market besides this gaming news. Like there's
Mhm.
some cool things happening. Like Huga is dropping a high-end art collection as Bitcoin ordinals. So that's pretty cool. Ordinals are kind of like catered towards high-end art because at the end of the day, like as far as like blockchain goes, like Bitcoin is the most secure and is going to be around for the longest. So that I could see like that being a good place for Hugo to drop their high end art. Now, personally, like I think there'll be some huge sales. It's an auction, and then I think there'll be some huge sales like from that. But I still think it's kind of a cash grab from Hugo. I think they lost a lot of revenue from royalties, like the royalty problem with OpenSea and Blur, and they're kind of like of course thinking of other ways to make revenue by dropping a random collection by a random artist on as an ordinal. But ultimately, that's pretty cool. Not really alpha there unless you're like high risk, high reward. Like maybe you want to win one of those auctions and try to flip it, but it's gonna be complicated. It's gonna be expensive. Not something I would personally get into. Trying to think of anything else. If you are trading, obviously still trade on Blur because that season 2 airdrop is still going. You know, there's more pieces of the pie this time, but like if you're trading, then why not just trade on Blur for that?
You know, I got a notification from Ledger about they did an NFT drop, like, on their they're doing a lot of stuff. They have, like, a Web3 integration on Ledger as well. I find what Ledger's doing is really cool. So, if you don't have a Ledger, I may you might get one. I don't know because I feel like they're doing a lot of cool things in the space in general.
Well, they've had that Ledger Marketplace pass for a long time, like that Genesis NFT collection. And
Yeah.
then that collection, our Ledger has their own marketplace. Obviously, I don't know how they're marketing it as like the most secure, which makes sense. I mean, Ledger is kind of known for their security. I watched that for the longest time. I just kind of never acted on it. It was kind of expensive. Then I just didn't really feel like buying it. And the Discord has like pretty bad communication, so I just like never got involved. But I was like watching that for a long time.
Yeah, we'll see what they do in terms of Web3 games and like I don't know. They have a cool product. I feel like they could do. They have even more potential than what they have currently. Like they could become like the Apple of Web3 in a sense. Like they put out quality products. Everything
Yeah.
they touch, it feels like high quality. Now the marketplace is a hard thing to compete with because there's so many out there. But I could see them do more fun things and integrations with like Web3 games for sure.
Yeah, I know one of their big drops was like that bricks drop. We talked about that a lot in the channel. They ended up just doing too high of a mint price and too many additions, like a lot of people do in this market. That's a big mistake. I think they recovered from it. I haven't really kept up with it. A couple of people on Twitter I know like keep up with it, but besides that, I haven't really been keeping up with the whole Ledger marketplace.
Yeah, I haven't either, but, it always interests me to see kinda what they're doing. That's pretty much it all for the stream. I can't think of anything else at the moment. I told you guys about the Phantom Galaxies alpha. If you hold their some of their NFTs, you woulda got, a snapshot for their mechs and their avatars. So, um I completed the entire, like, set of the stuff you needed there, so I'll be getting, like, the mechs and avatars on Phantom.
Oh, dude, where was that alpha at?
I it was on stream. I talked about it with you on stream.
That's pretty cool.
Um, and then that happened, like, weeks ago, the snapshot, or, like, a
Yeah.
week or 2 ago. I think it's been, like, 2 weeks. So I'm, like, patiently waiting for that. That's a fun game, because it's gonna be universe, people own planets, there'll probably be,
Yeah.
like, clans fighting each other for, like, supremacy of a certain part of the galaxy, like Star Wars or something. Excuse me. I got the hiccups. Um, but, man, I don't know. I don't there's just a lot of games out there in general to play.
I do think that with all these big announcements surrounding Web3 gaming, that we might go into like a gaming meta. And if that's the case, there might be some good trade potential with like gaming projects. My
No, 100%.
Yeah, so some of the ones I can think of on ETH are just like I don't like. Like I don't like Mechaverse at all. Like there might be a play there because like they're considered gaming, but like I was there. I remember the disaster of that,
Yeah.
and I don't really want to be a part of it.
Have
And
you
then
seen speaking of Mechaverse, though, have you seen Core Games?
mm-mm.
So they, built a entire, like, metaverse for Mechaverse, and it's more like a map, like a mini like a map, and it's like the Citadel, so I feel like they copied Neo Tokyo a little bit on that.
Mm.
Um, and they have customizable drivers or pilots, and so, like, you can go and collect those pilots and play in core games as that pilot, because core games has an integration with MetaMask. Again,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, MetaMask integrations with, these types of gaming platforms. Neo Tokyo launched their map on core games as well. So um, it's you can also token gate certain rooms. So like if you want to get into this club, you have to have that NFT in a Neo Tokyo one to get into the private club area.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
And it has proximity chat. So you can hear your friends around you. So y'all could all be in that room talking like if you
Yeah,
were in person.
that's
And
cool.
yeah, so I find Core Games, what they're doing, and their studio is called Manticore Games, but Core Games, really interesting. I'm excited about the future of what they're doing because they're born out of the Web3 space. And
Do you do you remember in Phantom Galaxies during the first playthrough
Mhm.
that there was like this bar you could go to, and then there's like a room behind the bar you needed a code to? Did you ever get behind that?
I never
I
got
forget that.
behind that,
I never
man.
did either. I never
No.
did either. I just thought about that. I was like, I wonder what's behind that.
I like the music in it though, that
Yeah, man. Well, it reminded me of what you were just saying. Like, it would also be kind of cool if, like, it'd probably make people mad, but like if Phantom Galaxy was like, well, in order to get to this private club, you need to have this other asset from a different game in your
Mhm.
wallet. And then it's like, oh, well, that's you know, whatever this token is only section and kind of have that. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, that's
Right,
similar to
right.
like metaverse, but yeah, I don't know, that'd be kind of
See
interesting. Or
that
and maybe there's special perks and special items. And so more than just a social part, like you can only get this item if you go into that back of that bar or like do this quest or whatever.
like a POAP or like some kind of thing like that.
Basically a POAP, yeah.
See, that's exactly what, like, I was kinda hitting on earlier, is that's what I see the future of gaming and metaverse, is these, like, unique experiences, and cross collaborations between these games and projects. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of potential there. I think, like you said, I think we'll eventually just go into a Web3 gaming meta. And like,
Mhm.
if you're doing your due diligence now, you can already position yourself into these exciting, super undervalued like NFTs and assets, not financial advice. And then by the time we get into this meta, you'll be like Gucci, and then you can do whatever you want at that point.
My brain's kind of spinning on the possibilities for that, man. Like,
Mm,
say I launched a coffee project and I like bought out a room like in Phantom Galaxies, and like if anybody goes to that room, then they can like now attach an item to their like mecha that's like a coffee decal or like
yeah.
something, or you can like press, how like Fortnite has the dances, you can like press
Mhm.
the dances and they pull out a cup of coffee and like take a sip or that. Yeah, like those type of integrations would be so cool.
Yeah, and, there's games kinda doing that, like, I think Illuvium with the different skins with other projects. Again, we'll see a lot to that, those cool things, but,
Where can we
uh,
buy Illuvium skins? Like, can you buy them right now?
I don't I think you can, if you own land, you can, like, mine for them or whatever, scan for them, but I don't think you don't get to keep them right now, but when the game launches fully, you'll be able to, like, scan for, like, blueprints for skins.
Okay.
You'll probably, I mean, obviously, you'll be able to, like, buy them on the secondary market as well. And there's a few other ways I think you can craft skins as well in the main game by, like, collecting resources and things like that. Oh, before I forget, Chris, this one's a big one actually, is Japan is launching, their metaverse economic zone. I don't know if you heard about that.
I did a little bit, but you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so these major like Japanese companies are getting together and they're starting this metaverse economic zone like Fujitsu and Mitsubishi, two of like some of the biggest brands in Japan. And we got to remember Japan is the number 3 country in the world of GDP ranking. So it's a massive country with a
Yeah.
huge GDP. Um, and they're getting together and they're specifically focusing on Web3 interoperability and art like RPG games and Web3 games. And Fujitsu launched an accelerator program specifically for Web3. So they're not messing around. So we'll full on go into a metaverse gaming gold rush here in the not so distant future, in my opinion.
Heck yeah, man. That'd be great. Um, I also have one more question about Illuvium before we move on. Like, are you like actively like doing things with your land right now? Like, do you have to like collect resources, or is that kind of like on
Yeah.
hold until like more stuff is released? I've never bought Illuvium land. I know how do you own? I would assume you own
Uh,
land.
I don't own land. I was gonna,
Really?
yeah,
What?
I was gonna buy land. So I bought a bunch of SIOV2, which is their like in-game synthetic token.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be on parity or, with ILV. So I still have that. And I actually ended up never spending my SILV2. and so I just kept it. But I do know about the game is it's in beta or it's in alpha, so you can test it, you can do all the things you want to in the game, but you don't get to keep anything. So once that
So, like,
alpha,
you could see how if you own the land, you could see what it would do, you just don't get to
Mhm.
keep it.
Right.
That's cool.
So that
Is there
gives
a
you
video on this? That'd be nice if there was, like, a video on this somewhere.
yeah, so there's a lot of videos. There's Scoriox does videos, TSG. There's a lot of good creators like Vetamore
Cool.
and
Yeah.
many others that do videos about the like dynamics of how it works. Godson, he's a big one. He's really good. Godson like figured out some hacks in the game.
I think I've watched some of his stuff.
Yeah,
So, why
Godson's
don't you own land? Like, what are you going to?
the reason why is because I've been trying to figure out a strategy in terms of like how I do things in general. And like going back to what you were talking about is like I can't spend all the time in the game. The main game mode I want to focus on is going to be the overworld in the main game mode. Why? Because I want to collect the actual alluvials. And the land game gives you all these different resources that you can also use in game or sell, and do all the blueprints and all the cool things like that. But I want the actual alluvials because there's only gonna be one time in Illuvium's history that you'll be able to really be at the beginning, and be able to collect these Genesis alluvials, and then long term, when the bonding curve happens and all these alluvials phase out and, like, literally get deleted out of existence because people have to have a bunch of them to evolve your alluvials, these Genesis alluvials are just gonna be worth, a lot of money, in my opinion. Not financial
So,
advice, but that's why I'm gonna focus on capturing them.
what's the alpha on that? Like, how do I be one of the first to capitalize on collecting these alluvials?
Y just be there the day of the launch. No, everybody starts fresh. Nobody has an advantage.
Okay.
The thing to be doing is maybe taking a look at SILV2, which I don't know the exact price of SILV2. It's like 0.03 ETH. I'll have to take a look at what's the price of ETH right now anyways? What would be
Uh, my guess is it's in the 1,600 range, but I haven't
alright, let
checked
me
the
look
name.
up the price.
Let's see. 1625.
0.03, so 48 bucks. And ILV is worth $81. So you're getting almost a 40, $35 discount or whatever on
Yeah, because you can
SILV2.
only use it in game.
You can only yeah, right now, but it's supposed to be on parity with ILV. So you catch my drift, you're getting a
I
discount.
do, yeah, I do. Is
Um,
there arbitrage opportunity there?
yeah,
No,
I
no,
mean, there
I guess
was.
not.
There
Yeah.
was. You could back then there was a little bit more when there's more liquidity. Um,
No, yeah, that makes sense. If you're gonna buy it for the game, it's probably best to buy the SILV2 or whatever than it is just IOV if you're gonna use it for the game.
Yeah, and SoCal Omi Homie, he spends a lot of time diving into Illuvium. I mean, he's got a lot of land. He has 6 tier 1s and a tier 2 and a tier 3 as well.
Can anybody play the beta now?
So you need for the beta, you have to either have some kind of special access. The team has to have you like approved. You can like register for it, I think. You can win competitions to get into the beta. Um, the land game, you all you have to do to play the land game is just own a piece of land. And
Okay.
you can play the alpha until it launches or whatever, or until they close the window. But that's pretty much it. What was your other question?
I'm just trying to get the alpha on it, man. I've been a spectator of Illuvium since, like, it started, but the only thing I've ever owned is the token, which I think I've since sold.
So
Um,
two
but
things
yeah.
with a token is ILV is interesting. It's the governance token. You can stake it and all that fun stuff. I think you can actually stake SLV2 if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there. But SLV2 to me is interesting is because when all these games launch on Illuvium, SILV2, you need that in game for a lot of
Mhm.
these things. And right now it's almost like half price of the actual real token. And it's supposed to be on parity with the real token.
Yeah,
So again, it's like, do you want to buy ILV at $81 or do you want to buy SILV2 at like 48 bucks?
sure.
I mean, So again, it's more of a long-term approach to this, but again, if Illuvium's gonna have a lot of gamers, and people using this in-game token, and it's gonna be more usable than the actual IOV token itself to a degree, then you gotta be asking yourself, like, which is the better buy?
What am I looking at here, Kyle? Can I like? This is like tier ones, right?
Yeah, I would recommend looking at Token Trove, just because they have a map.
Yeah, that's what I used to use, but I think you have to actually sign into Token Trove, or can you maneuver it without signing in?
You might be able to maneuver and MacGyver it.
Let's see. Oh, here, let's see. Illuvium land. Oh, you're right. So we got assets, filters. So
Yeah,
if I want to, there's 0% tier 5. What does that even mean?
tier 5 is like a
Not really.
multi-million dollar. Like, I think
Uh,
that the only way that they're gonna sell those, and there's only like I think 2 right now, and a total of like maybe 5. I don't know how many total, but it's like super scarce. Those will go to like big companies probably that will bid for.
so tier 4, none are listed.
Yeah, because it's that those
What the
are worth
heck?
a lot of money. Those are
Wow,
worth a lot.
this market is so fun. There's nothing freaking listed.
Go to
I
go to the actual market page though,
I,
not
I
assets,
will. Hold on one second.
because it'll show you like the map and all that good stuff. Like
Wait,
the main page.
was there any? I wanted to try to find some deals, but there's like not any. There's no tier 3 listed. There's no dude. There's literally. Oh wait, there's got to be. I got to be looking at something wrong.
Yeah, you're on like go to the market tab, not the asset tab. Like
Oh,
you see,
here it
yeah,
is.
you got
That's what I was looking at. That's
yeah,
what.
you clicked it.
You're right. It won't let me click it.
Oh,
But,
maybe sort by.
oh, here
There
we
you
go.
go.
Here we
There's
go.
the map. There's the map. So just use that. You can see the actual like land plots, which I find interesting. If you're serious about it and you want to like buy land in a certain like biome or region, you can look at this map and identify like, hey, I kind of want to get one here. And that's where your like little plot of alluvium land is, and then you can sort on the top. So if you scroll up by like the price,
Hold on, I just zoomed in, so it messed me up.
yeah, scroll up. Um, yeah, right there.
Okay.
So the price you have to sort by that to the right, that little arrow. Yeah, lowest price, and
Oh,
then maybe hit it one more. There you go. So
yeah.
that's how you sort. That's the cheapest one right there, man. And they're not cheap.
No, they're not. 0.3 ETH. I do have like half an ETH in Immutable that I actually forgot that I had. So I got a little bit of money to work with. I wonder what the. So are there any tier 2s listed? Let's see if there's any tier 2s.
Yo, what's up, Ricky Tan? We got
Dude,
a
even the
wildfire
tier
deal to the
2
house.
is 1 ETH. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, these are holding value. I mean, you had, I think you had a lot of VCs on the actual land sale itself. I mean, you got to remember it was a $72 million land sale in a bear market.
Yeah, it was pretty
Had
nuts.
this been in the bull market, um, I think it would have exceeded Yuga Labs land sale, other side. I'm not even kidding. Because they did one in the bull market.
Isn't
And
Illuvium dropping more though?
yeah, well,
Well,
it's
so is other dude,
TBD.
but
It's all TBD. They're gonna be
okay,
basing it
okay,
off of, um, like, supply, demand, and, like, taking it up with the Dow, I think, or something like that.
sure.
I haven't followed up with it in a long time, but I know Aaron made, like, an announcement kind of about that. Like, they said they're not gonna drop land for the sake of dropping land, like, ever, unless they think that there's, like, more demand for it, and it's beneficial for the Dow. Essentially, I think is what he said. So they're
Dude, these
not
things
gonna
are
screw up.
selling right now.
They're
That's
not
kind of
gonna
crazy.
they're not gonna do what Vivi did is just pump out the drops. They're not gonna do that.
Dang, bro, shots fired. I need a
That's why
soundboard.
I
Pew, 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 pew. Dude,
although I'm excited for Vivi Land, so, that's something I am looking forward to
there
if we
was
ever get
a
that.
3 ETH, I mean 2.8 ETH sell 5 hours ago for a. This looks like tier 2. I don't know what this is. Um, then there's another 2.8 ETH sell. This thing actually has volume, dude. That's actually surprises me. Like these things are selling.
Yeah, it's like one of the best projects on IMX. And then, of course, they have Illuvium Beyond with the Illuvatars, which are the PFPs. Again, a genesis of Illuvium. So if you believe in the Illuvium IP and brand long term, then these are interesting plays. This is the alpha. I mean, again, it's like if you're on Vivi in the beginning days, you got in early, you kind of just won by default.
Yeah,
So again, here this could be an interesting play if you believe in the Illuvium brand and IP and what they're doing. It's literally a decentralized gaming studio. They're not focused on just one game forever and that's it. It's an actual full on studio. It's not just a game. It's like looking at Gala Games kind of in a sense. And of
sure.
course, the Warwick brothers, they're all like freaking geniuses in everything they do. So
So do you think
um, that's just
with
my opinion.
that case on Illuvium just being a studio, like, are you bullish on the token?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was like $1,800
Or
like a year
was,
ago.
like,
Yeah,
was.
but like you're talking about like ETH is 1,600,
Yeah,
and there's only 7 million ILV. Like, are you kidding me? Like, and if you're talking about this being a studio, like if you look at the market cap of like Activision, Blizzard, or whatever, like it's like multi. I think it's like $1 billion. I don't know what the market cap is. It's a lot. Illuvium, like, could be a big deal. I mean, we're talking this is the Web3 space where there's a lot of
sure.
cash here. We're talking about it's a global market. It's like one of the first AAA games in the Web3 space ever. Next to like Axie Infinity, like of course,
Yeah,
I think this is a big play. Yeah,
sweet.
for sure. And
I'll be
it's got
watching it.
deflationary tokenomics, big time. Now you do have to consider token unlocks. So that's
Mhm.
something. Do your own research out there. This is not financial advice. This is just my opinion. I'm a financial advisor. But you get where I'm kinda trying to hit at. If you
Yeah,
enter
for
in
sure.
at these correct levels of entries, again, I am like a freaking sniper. I'll wait days, weeks, months, even a year to make entries into tokens. Like I have a patience like a sloth. And that's what I'll do.
I need not now, but I need somebody to explain to me like I'm 5 everything around land, like the monetization possibility and the like resources, each one, like what to look for, what to shop for, and I might buy in.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too, is like it just depends on if you're, like, really gonna be playing the Glen game, and that's what really excites you, and you're gonna be doing this long term, or I think they had plans to rent your land out. So if you're, like, super serious about that, and you're treating this like real estate, then that could be interesting for you. But for
Yeah,
me, I want to get into the token while it's, like, early, um, while it's crypto winter. And we've seen with the sandbox, the token outperforms land with that at least in the short term.
true.
So there could be again a token play at hand.
Counterpoint though, counterpoint. I do agree with you, but every day we get closer to actually being able to like use land. Whereas like last year and the year before that, land wasn't as useful. It was kind of just like either most land is like speculation still, like is this going to succeed? What's land going to look like? What's renting going to look like? And all that. Like I feel like every single day we get closer to actually land having a bigger use case. I say that because maybe next run we'll see land compete with token price. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all going to come down to what you're into, and like what your risk appetite is for land. For me, like, it's a balance. Like, I'm not gonna be, like, overly excited about one or the other. What I'm gonna be doing is just shifting my strategy as time goes on. And again, that's why I said short term. There could be a token play short term, versus, like, land long term. So, again, you always have to rebalance your strategy over time, in my opinion. Not financial advice, but that's just how I fly.
Sweet.
Because what I do is since I'm not a whale, I have to do that. Like, I have to move stuff around, but if you're a whale, you might have a bunch of land and you're just, like, ready to go for the long term. Um, but if you're like me, like, I'm looking at SILV2 and be like, "Man, it's pretty cheap right now." And then if land, like you said, if the land game starts, people are gonna go and buy some in-game tokens, or the overworld launches, and that's gonna push the price, and then I could look buying land on on the cheap, I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know.
that's interesting. I know in the staking that you can claim SLIV2 at any point, right? But you have to use it in game. You can't like sell it, like at least for like a year or something like that. There's like a vesting period. Isn't that
But
right? Like there's a difference between claiming ILV and SLIV2 when you're staking.
you can claim, it just depends on what you're staking. But yeah, if you like, let's say you lock up your ILV for like a year, you have to be staking, by the way, to get revenue distribution. Um, and then for SILV2, if you're just using it for in game, there's no need to stake it. I think there. And then I don't know what your other question was.
I was just I was thinking out loud on the SLIV2 versus ILV and like
Mm.
why SLIV2 would be half the price if they're supposed to almost be pegged.
Well, there's no game out technically. That's why.
Yeah,
That's why I'm saying it's an interesting play, right?
it is an interesting play. Yeah, it is.
Because when it pumped when there's a land sale, because you could get SILV2 at a discount, and it was supposed to be on parity with ILV, so you could buy land for like 40%, 50, almost 50% cheaper than if you were paying for it with ILV. And that's what I find interesting,
Yeah.
again, because
I remember you talking about that around the time.
yeah.
I don't think I ended up participating. All right, last question, and then that's all I have. What was mint of land? I don't remember like the price, like equivalent. Let's say equivalent to either USD or ETH.
What was the price of what?
Land to mint.
Oh, it was a bidding. It was like a bid, like drop, or
Yeah, like a Dutch auction.
yeah, it was a Dutch auction style drop, and it was like timed as well. So like they would do a batch of land, and then the timer would count down, and as it counted down, like the price would decrease by like every like minute or two, and then you could like try to hurry up and buy it if it reached your target price. But it was really competitive. I mean, every time I tried to buy at my target price, somebody else would buy it. So it was like a VV drop. Like you
Yeah.
thought you were good, and then it just sell out like all at the same time.
So what do you think
Uh,
like the average price was? Like 0.3 maybe?
yeah, probably like point 0.3. It just depends on the tier. It probably,
Yeah.
since there's other tiers and those went at a higher price, I would imagine the average was much higher than just point 0.3, but
Yeah.
it probably was like, I don't know, point 0.5, 6, 7. I really don't know. I think there's somebody probably has the information on that, or they announced it somewhere in the Discord.
Cool. All right. Yeah, that's all my questions for now on Illuvium.
Yeah, there's a lot there, man. It's definitely interesting. Something I'll keep an eye on long term for sure. For many reasons, the token's at $80. It's like how much percentage X? How many X's is that actually? Like down from 1800.
Down more than we want to think about.
It went down.
I remember the first time I started watching IOV, it was at like 300. No, it was at yeah, no, it was at like 300 a token, and then I didn't buy any, and then it shot to like 1,200 so quick, and I was so upset, and then almost FOMO'd in when it dropped back down to like the $1,000 range or the $800 range. So it's crazy to think about where it's at now.
It's down to like 20x down or whatever. And yeah, there's only 7 million. Again, somebody said there's token unlocks. So again, do your own due diligence out there. Don't just jump into a token because we're talking about it. You know, this is just entertainment anyways.
Yeah, I don't
But
think I own any. Like I said, I bought like very few. I bought like two. Like for like I think I ended up buying at like 140 a token or something like that. I don't remember if I'm holding them or not. Like if I
mhm.
sold them or not, but that's all I have. I mean, I'll probably buy more in the future. I just don't know when.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, Ricky Tan said Ricky Tan said that the tier ones were 0.3 to 0.5 ETH.
The tier ones, yeah, those went that low for sure. But out of like the entire land sale, though, I'm sure the average was like higher than that. Like
Oh
probably.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all we got for this one. Lots of interesting talks. Be sure to drop in the comments below. Share this on Twitter if you enjoyed it. Make sure you like it if you enjoyed it as well. Share it with somebody if you find this interesting or find it entertaining and it could help entertain somebody else. And also comment below. What do you guys want us to cover on YouTube and Twitter? about Web3 gaming, metaverse, NFTs. What do you guys want to hear from us? And make us like, we will literally read all the comments, and based on your comments, we might possibly look into it. So that's all we got for this one. We appreciate you for joining. Degen Dads.
Ayo.
Dads. Chris, did you have any final words to say, or?
GG.
You didn't want me to cut you off.
Nope.
Dang it, I was going to try to. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Peace. We'll be over on Chris's channel, by the way, next week. But on Twitter, we'll be still on our profiles, and we have a Degen Dads account now on Twitter. So be on the lookout for that.